Unwritten Harmonies. Chapter 1. A Chance Encounter. I stepped into the cozy coffee shop, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloping me like a warm hug on a chilly morning. It had been ages since I'd ventured out of my comfort zone, but something compelled me to leave the solitude of my apartment today. Perhaps it was the hope that in this bustling city, amidst strangers sipping their lattes and typing away at laptops, I could momentarily silence the cacophony within my head. As I waited for my turn in line, I noticed him. The man sitting by the window with a worn leather journal, scribbling away with such fervor that his eyebrows danced above his glasses. His eyes, kind and deep like the ocean on a clear day, caught mine through the glass. Our gaze met, and he looked up, smiling warmly before returning to his writing. I felt an inexplicable connection, as though this chance encounter might be more than just coincidence. He stood up when I approached the counter, and our hands brushed as we ordered our drinks in unison. A latte for me and a tea for him. "I'm Alex," he said with a gentle smile, as if aware of my curiosity. "And you are?" My name, Lily, felt like a fragile leaf on his tongue when it parted his lips. In the corner, I settled into an armchair, trying to appear nonchalant while keeping him in my periphery. His journal caught my attention once more, pages filled with verse after verse of flowing prose, each line a testament to poetry untamed and unspoken. The barista handed us our drinks, and Alex took the seat next to me, his voice weaving through the hum of conversation like a melody. "What brings you here today?" he asked, eyes twinkling behind those spectacles that framed them with humility. I hesitated, unsure if it was wise to share my story with this stranger, but there was something about him that made me want to unshackle the silence wrapping around me for so long. "Solitude," I admitted softly. "Some days, even caffeine can't chase away the ghosts." His nod of understanding made me brave enough to continue. "And you? Writing your novel?" He chuckled and set his drink down, placing a hand on the journal as if protecting it from prying eyes. More like trying to decipher life's symphony in ink. Our conversation unfolded with grace, neither of us speaking too much yet understanding each other deeply. A delicate dance of shared silences punctuated by words. I couldn't recall the last time someone had listened so intently, his focus on me without judgment. Before I knew it, we'd spent an hour, my drink's warmth forgotten as our connection resonated like a haunting melody in my chest. When he mentioned his love for music, I pulled out a small notebook from my bag. A collection of lyrics penned during my university days. He took it, pages rustling with every flip, and I feared I'd overstepped into his private world. But Alex's eyes found mine instead of the paper. "These are beautiful," he said, voice low yet resonant. His admiration for the simplicity and complexity intertwined within each line stirred something long dormant. The coffee shop staff began closing around us, nudging us towards departure. I should return this. Yet his gaze lingered on my book before meeting mine once more. "Would you like to grab another cup somewhere else?" "I promise not to dissect your poetry over coffee," he said, as if sensing the scars beneath my words. My heart leapt in a way it hadn't since, well, ever. I agreed, and with that, we stepped into the cool morning air. Outside, Alex suggested a quaint spot under the nearby willow tree overlooking the river. As we strolled towards the serene scene he described, he spoke about music's power to heal, leaving me curious if it was coincidence or deliberate choice that led him here, to this quiet refuge. He glanced at his watch. Time for my morning walk. I breathed in deeply as the sun peeked from behind the trees, casting dappled shadows across us. "I'll join you," I ventured, and he smiled like an old friend. Our steps entwined, feet tracing the path beneath the willow's branches, each step a subtle yet significant dance towards an unknown melody. He spoke of his love for the unspoken, the language that transcended words, gestures and touch. With every shared breath, our bond deepened, weaving together in ways I couldn't explain. The river babbled behind us as we sat on a bench, journals now side by side. His hand brushed against mine. It was a spark of connection in this vast universe. I turned the pages of my book to a particular poem, one written during a fleeting romance long past. He read over my shoulder, voice whispering the words back with conviction, evoking memories I thought lost. "This lullaby has depth," he observed, his eyes sparkling. In that moment, I almost believed it was possible for someone to hear me when everyone else had failed. We sat there a while longer, savoring the symphony of nature and unspoken promise, until Alex stood up with an air of knowing we shouldn't prolong this serendipitous encounter further. Yet as he reached for his journal, our palms brushed once more. A touch that left me breathless. "Would you like to grab coffee sometime?" His invitation echoed in the wind, leaving room for response beyond mere words. I nodded, and he smiled with renewed conviction. "Let's make it less impromptu next time." A date was set for the following day, beneath this same willow when the moon smiled at us. As we parted ways, his fingers brushed against mine one last time before disappearing into the crowd, leaving behind a business card adorned with an ink-dot stamped note. In silent harmony. Days passed, and I found myself scribbling lyrics in my notebook with renewed vigor, the words spilling onto those pages like a long-forgotten melody. On the day of our date, he arrived with a guitar, fingers poised over strings, waiting for me under the willow's branches. With each plucked note, my scars seemed less formidable. As his music wove through the air, I felt the weight of my words lessening. Our silence wasn't awkward but filled with the promise of understanding. His hands guided mine on the fretboard, teaching me how to translate emotions into sound, a language we both understood. Night had descended when he placed the instrument in my arms. "You play as though your soul is singing," I whispered, and for the first time since, ever, it felt like the world was listening with us. As stars began their twinkling ballet overhead, I closed my eyes. Let out the melodies within me. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Dark. Chapter 2. Unwritten Harmonies. Chapter 3. The Unseen Promise. Please let me know when you want me to proceed further with the story.